Hello YouTube, Kodandi here, and I found like the coolest thing that I want to tell you guys about. So I was reading this book, Gheranda, Samhita, Commentary on the Yoga Teachings of Maharishi Gheranda by Swami Niranjananda Saraswati. And this comes out of the that cool Bihar yoga school. They do a lot of good stuff, and their texts are really good. This is discourses given during the Sannyasa training course held at Ganga Darshan, Munger, 1992. And it's a really cool reference book. It's a very, this isn't your kind of yoga studio yoga. This is serious if you want to live away from the world and practice yoga. This is amazing. I love this book. Someone told me that Swamiji had recommended this book once. I didn't hear it myself, but it's a very cool book. And so, in the chapter talking about Basti is the enema, there's this little blurb that comes out of in the middle of talking about enemas. There's this little blurb about causes of ill health. So I'm going to read what it says. This is page 107, Causes of Ill Health. Sometimes disease manifests in the body despite regular yoga practice. There are two possible reasons. The first is that even though one is doing yogic practices, there is still no awareness of the body, so the internal changes which result in disease are not able to be understood. The second reason is that sometimes an internal organ is already weak or diseased. It is possible that after 1 or 2 years of yogic practice, this weakness may declare itself as a process of cleansing begins. One should not feel scared or be afraid if this happens. Yoga accepts that even yogis fall sick. It is seen in the lives of many accomplished sadhakas that even after attaining a higher state, it is disease that takes their bodies. For example, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had throat cancer. It is known that other yogis had paralysis, cardiac arrest, and brain hemorrhage. Swami Vivekananda died of a brain aneurysm. There is a tendency to think that people who have done yogic practices for many years, who have purified their bodies and achieved something in their life by reaching a special state, should be able to control physical disease. There are also examples of yogis being able to rid themselves of bodily diseases, whether by yogic practices or by making use of their siddhis. But if the diseases that manifest in their bodies are due to the karmas of others, which they have taken upon themselves in an effort to exhaust them, making use of their accomplishments or siddhis would defeat this purpose. This point has been clearly explained in yogic texts. If siddhis, and this is the yogic powers, which come from accomplishment, S-I-D-D-H-I-S, siddhis. The point has been clearly explained that in yogic texts, if siddhis are used in an attempt to exhaust one's karmas, ultimately the karmas will further increase. They will not be exhausted because it is not a natural process. It is similar to taking medicine in an attempt to get rid of a disease, but the medicine only suppresses the symptoms for some time. As long as the medicine is effective, the disease is not experienced, but as its effect gradually reduces or ends, the disease reemerges with increased force, as in asthma, diabetes, fever, and many other conditions. There is a difference between the suppression of disease and the eradication of disease in a natural way. Keeping this in mind, sage Gheranda says that if any organ in the body suffers from a disease, It should not be taken to mean that there is any shortcoming in one's practice. It is a natural process of life. At such times, courage and awareness need to be developed. It indicates that it is time to practice self-analysis or introspection so that the cause of the disease may be understood. The cause of the disease is not always bhoga, indulgence in enjoyments, but karma. If disease manifests due to karma, the reason why it is manifesting may not be known, but if awareness and self-analysis are practiced during the illness, something can be learned about why the disease has manifested. For example, it may be due to attachment to pleasure, to some form of self-indulgence, or because a specific change in lifestyle or attitudes needs to be made. This is really, really super important. And especially, in relation to what I went through earlier this summer with taking care of a woman in hospice. She died of cancer. She had been dealing with this cancer for a few years. She went through the whole chemo treatment. The cancer was gone. She was, healthy and well again. And then, like so often happens with cancer, it comes back with a vengeance, and that's it, you're done. And in talking with her friends and mostly her friends, the people around her, her colleagues, in talking with them, they were all like, oh my God, how could this happen to her? She did everything right. She was vegan, she didn't smoke, she didn't drink, she did yoga, she did everything right, and yet she still got cancer and died. It's sometimes difficult to get people to understand that health is not a virtue. That health and wellness is not a virtue. It is not some sort of purity thing. It has nothing to do with, sort of these strange concepts that people tend to have about, believing in their own superiority. And illnesses and disease have a lot to do with a lot of stuff in this world. That yes, there are things that you can do, your own personal behaviors, your own personal choices, that you can make to change your health and improve your health or cause yourself health problems. There are absolutely things like that. But there is also the fact that we live in kind of a fucked up world. And so not only is there, for example, a lot of pollution and, depending on where you live, you might be exposed to cancer-causing chemicals. Any product we buy, all of these food products, any processed food, any processed skincare, the cleaning supplies we use, the laundry detergent we use, the stuff that's sprayed on our furniture, the chemicals in the flooring, all of this kind of stuff has an effect on us that we don't even think about. You move into a brand new apartment building, you get yourself some new furniture, you get whatever cleaning supplies, and you're exposing yourself to some really potentially dangerous chemicals whose long-term effects have not been completely studied. People are becoming more aware of this, especially with regards to fire retardant chemicals and children. That the chemical load on our bodies just from normal, everyday, basic living is tremendous. And if you live in an agricultural area where the crops are being sprayed with, various pesticides and fertilizers, your, chemical load is going to be even greater. Out in the Central Valley of California, which is if you're buying fresh produce in the US, it was probably grown out there in the Central Valley. The cancer rates are really high out there. So not only do we have those things to take into account when thinking about disease and illness and cancer and health, but here it's saying that, that there are these other things going on as well, that maybe you don't have awareness of the body. Maybe you had some underlying weakness or disease in your internal organ that didn't make itself known, or that you weren't aware of until, after a while, after your yoga practice. That karmas that you take on, not only your own karmas, but the karmas of, everything else in life that you're connected to, people that you're connected to. This is in particular for like people doing spiritual stuff, spiritual people. Another thing that I've heard my guru talk about is how the enlightenment experience itself is very hard on the body. And when he was a child, he had this yogic master training him, training his body, getting his body into such absolute top physical shape that he would be able to hold the energy of enlightenment. Especially when we look at other enlightened beings that died young, that died of cancer, things like that, that the energy of enlightenment is very, very hard on the body. I mean, so many people think they're seeking enlightenment and they have no clue the kind of physical discipline that is necessary for maintaining the enlightenment experience. When we're thinking about health and wellness and illness and disease, it is not a virtue. It is not about purity. It is not about, how good you were and you did all the right things. There are a lot of other factors to take into consideration. And yes, it is absolutely possible to heal. My guru miraculously heals people all the time. I mean, it's not even really a miracle. It is a natural part of the third eye awakening to be able to heal people. And that's one of the things that I do. But I also have to let people know that, healing looks like a lot of different things. And your body can die even though you are healed, right? If we only limit our idea of healing to the physical body, we are missing out on, so much healing that is possible. There is absolutely a yogic science for being able to control when your body stops, when your body dies, when you leave the body. Right now, my guru is running the program, the Kaya Kalpa Yoga program, which is this incredibly intensive yogic, I think it's 2 years or 21 months, I think it is, incredibly intensive yogic program where you're isolated, you're doing yoga, you're on a liquid diet, you have silence, you're not around people. That this incredible, intense yogic practice, and he is running this program now, which is really, really cool. I don't know if it's possible to still join or if he's going to run it again or what. I don't know. It's really, really interesting, but it's also incredibly intense. I mean, imagine 21 months of silence, 21 months of a yogic diet, 21 months of not having contact with the outside world, of being in a little hut in India. I mean, that's not the kind of thing that everyone just does. Let's just go and have a yoga retreat for 21 months and completely isolate ourselves from the world in order to do this thing. Yoga gives us so much power to heal and to, change our bodies and have consciousness over physical matter, to be able to use our third eye abilities to heal our bodies. But also there's a lot of stuff going on, and most people are going to experience all kinds of disease and illness, especially as it comes with old age, and that yoga accepts that even yogis fall sick. It is seen in the lives of many accomplished sadhakas that even after attaining a higher state, it is disease that takes their bodies. Nityananda.